My name is Holly Parotti. I am 42, a mixed media artist and curator, living and working in Nassau, the Bahamas. I was born and raised here, then studied for my bachelor's in fine arts, painting and printmaking in Connecticut, then transferring and graduating from Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond, Virginia. In responding to this project, I realized that my experience as a white Bahamian has been relatively without major adverse or negative personal incident. Any experience of notable racism has only been through observation. As a child, I did not think about race until recently. I have not spent any significant thought on my racial identity because my focus has been more so on my ethnic identity. Admittedly, this luxury could be met with confusion as to how this is even possible, and because of that, perhaps some contempt, because I've never had to experience what it means to be subjected to racism, institutionalized or social racism. Recently, my creative process has involved addressing gender, belonging, racial, and ethnic heritage. I try to focus on how these experiences have informed and continue to inform my creative process. Beyond being told by my peers and family members that I was white, race was never discussed to any great extent. It's likely because very little is known about my mother's heritage, and this is probably because true documentation or confirmation of their collective lineages is lacking. We've had to rely on the allegory of the older members of her family, which of course has been the result of embellishment or perhaps even deliberately omitting fact. The only definitive lineage is my father's paternal family. Their arrival in the Bahamas from Arcanate, Italy via Ellis Island, New York, through Heron, Illinois, Miami, Florida, finally settling in Nassau, is supported not only by the stories of their experience, of their journey. There is also, I've seen tangible proof because of how well it's been documented. I've seen the actual ship registry, or an image of the ship's registry of their arrival in Ellis Island. Their arrival would be my great-grandfather Luigi and his wife Mary and their children. However, my father's maternal heritage is just as undefined as my mother's. So, in an ongoing project entitled Other, I am addressing how this uncertainty has ill-informed my identity, and only now I'm trying to unravel the components of my racial identity. My physical features are markers attributed to the Caucasian race, but delving into my mother's family's origins have proven to suggest otherwise. This is an ongoing process, so beyond paraphrasing that it's possible that my mother's family, her forefathers who settled in Long Island, Bahamas, they could very well have been plantation owners. And with reference to the one-drop rule as used in the social system in the early to mid 1900s in the South, the presence of one ancestor, one black ancestor in your white ancestry or heritage rendered you black by social standards. The existence of that one ancestor in your entire heritage would then alter your expectation of your heritage. I can say that I'm a product of the real, perceived, learned, emotional experience of growing up, what it means to be white in the Bahamas. It's very hard to even define that, simply because I even lack a cultural identity. So to describe what it is to be a white Bahamian, this is something that I will have to expand on at a later time. I do feel that whiteness can be variable because, and although I am no authority, I have found that identity is partially informed by the subjective emotional process and your reaction to that experience. and no two experiences are the same. So you're definitely going to run across some significant differences. I endeavor to be colorblind. I find it's more effective to consider human behavior in forming opinions about people. You cannot choose race, or it can be a product of an ethnicity, but you can choose your behavior. Yes, I have crossed boundaries in race and class, or more specifically race, not really class. No, I'm engaged to a black woman. Race has never been a factor in choosing who I include in my life. Perceived whiteness and privilege. Now, it would be irresponsible of me to think that I haven't experienced privileges because of my whiteness, but also probably I have experienced this privilege because of my foreign surname, the Parotti name, or locally it's pronounced Parotti or Parotti. So there's been some evolution in even that part of my heritage. It's been rendered a whole entirely new family, if you will. To name a moment, with regards to any privilege or preferential treatment, one specific moment was that a few years ago I had the unfortunate circumstance of realizing the day before traveling to Europe, my passport was expired. My U.S. visa was current and still in effect, but my passport was expired by a couple of months. I called people that I knew because, as in other societies and systems, you know the right people, you can gain that advantage. And I knew a couple of people in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and in seeking their advice, they all gave me the same: get started on the process, go and submit your application, and call me when you're done, so we can see how we can help. I did. I followed the procedure and hoped for the best, although I was told that the average time to expedite my application would be 24 hours. Nonetheless, and on the advice of a very lovely lady who could see my distress, I returned later in the day to test fate, and was relieved to learn that the director of the department, he saw my application, noticed my surname, and concluded that I was somehow related to his former classmate. He nothing short of admitted that he sped up the process simply because my cousin was a good friend in high school. I didn't argue and still breathed a sigh of relief because I was grateful that one of my identifiers is my unique surname. It's somewhat embarrassing, but because other people were there and I'm sure they had similar urgencies to mine, but I'm not sure how they fared, and that's quite sad. I am the product of the privilege that my middle class working parents afforded me. The notion that those opportunities were only given to me because I satisfy the physical requirements of a certain race who obtain more privilege than the other, that actually offends the level of responsibility and commitment that my parents took in raising us, in choosing to have a family and to raise a family and provide everything that they didn't have, and really securing a success for us in the future. It offends them more than that it would be more offensive to me, and I would protect them by saying anything, to the effect that I did not have opportunities because my parents loved me. I absolutely had more opportunities simply because my parents were committed to raising responsible adults. I haven't been ostracized by way of the true definition of the word. However, I have felt dismissed because my success has been scrutinized, not only because I'm a woman, but because of this idea of white privilege, that more than likely I would have experience the same success simply because I was white, and that's just the way it is. And I have to say that, to use the word again, that's unfortunate, because we all work hard despite the opinions of others, and those opinions that are based on their own experiences. But I would like to think, although idealistic as it is, I would, and I strive to create a portfolio and produce and present a portfolio that it's about the work. The work is informed by my personal experiences. My personal experiences are not actually they're not revealed, because I don't want them pointed out. I want them to seem irrelevant to the actual body of work. I would hope that someone's perception or experience with my work is not changed by the fact that I'm a woman, that I'm gay, that I'm from the Bahamas. I'm more of a printmaker than I am a painter. That I struggle with identifying if, and this is arguably the same thing, but I wish I had more time to explain it, that I am an artist from the Bahamas, because I'm not sure what it is to be a Bahamian artist. And to be a white Bahamian artist is an entirely different kettle of fish. Thank you, and I wish you all the success.